The first sea monster was not imagined. It was uncovered. Buried beneath layers of rock, hidden in cliffs, and washed out along ancient coastlines, there were bones too large to ignore. To early humans, these remains were not scientific puzzles, they were undeniable evidence that something enormous had once lived in the depths of the earth. Long before paleontology gave names to prehistoric life, people were already encountering the remnants of creatures that seemed too large, too strange, and too powerful to belong to the natural world they knew. Across continents and cultures, the pattern was the same. Giant bones were found, often far from the ocean, sometimes in deserts or mountains. Without knowledge of evolution, extinction, or deep time, these discoveries demanded explanation. And the only tools available were myth, storytelling, and imagination. But here is the truth that changes everything. These so-called sea monsters were not inventions. They were interpretations of real discoveries. Before modern science, fossilized remains were often misidentified or misunderstood. Large bones discovered in ancient Greece were thought to belong to mythical heroes or giants. In China, fossilized bones were described as the remains of dragons. In Europe, enormous skulls and vertebrae were attributed to mythical beasts or creatures of divine origin. One of the most powerful examples comes from the discovery of massive vertebrae and jawbones belonging to ancient marine reptiles. These fossils did not resemble anything alive today. In fact, many of them came from creatures that lived tens of millions of years ago, long before humans even existed. Among the most significant discoveries were fossils of mosasaurs and plesiosaurs. These were not mythical beings, they were real marine reptiles that dominated the oceans during the late Cretaceous period, roughly 70 to 66 million years ago. The mosasaurs, in particular, were apex predators. Some species reached lengths of over 50 meters, with powerful jaws lined with sharp, conical teeth. They hunted fish, sharks, and even other marine reptiles. Their bodies were built for speed and agility in water, with long, streamlined forms and powerful tails that propelled them through ancient seas. Meanwhile, plesiosaurs had entirely different body structures: long necks, broad bodies, and foreflippers that allowed them to maneuver with precision. Some species had necks longer than their bodies, giving them a unique and almost surreal appearance that easily explains why early fossil discoveries were misinterpreted. These creatures were real. Their fossils are real. And they were found by people long before science could explain what they represented. The oceans of prehistoric Earth were filled with life forms that would seem monstrous by modern standards. Sharks with spiral tooth structures, giant fish with armored bodies, and marine reptiles that reached lengths rivaling modern whales all existed in these ancient ecosystems. One of the most unusual examples is a creature called Helicoprion. This ancient shark-like animal had a bizarre spiral arrangement of teeth in its lower jaw, forming what is known as a tooth whirl. For decades, scientists struggled to understand how this structure functioned. Early interpretations of fossils led to wildly incorrect reconstructions. Some thought the spiral was part of a shell-like structure or even a separate organism entirely. Only later did researchers determine that this spiral was actually embedded in the jaw, continuously growing and replacing teeth as the creature aged. This discovery revealed just how strange and unfamiliar ancient life could be, even to trained scientists. Now imagine encountering such a fossil without any scientific framework. For ancient people, these remains would have been deeply unsettling. When people found these fossils, they didn't call them extinct animals. That concept didn't exist yet. Instead, they explained them through the lens of their culture. Giant bones became giants. Strange skulls became dragons. Massive vertebrae became sea serpents. Across the world, myths began to emerge that mirrored the shapes and sizes of these fossils. In Norse mythology, the Jormungandr, a colossal sea serpent that encircled the world, bears a striking resemblance to the idea of a massive marine predator. In biblical texts, creatures like the leviathan are described as enormous sea beings, powerful and fearsome. These were not random inventions. They were attempts to explain something very real. The Earth was speaking through its remains, and ancient people were trying to understand the message. Everything changed when science finally began to interpret these discoveries correctly. In the early 19th century, scientists began to realize that fossils were not random objects or mythological relics. They were the remains of real organisms that lived in the past. This realization led to the birth of paleontology, the scientific study of ancient life. As more fossils were discovered and analyzed, the true nature of Earth's history began to emerge. Entire ecosystems that no longer exist were reconstructed. Predators that once ruled oceans were identified. Extinction, once a mysterious concept, became a central part of understanding life on Earth. And then came the most important realization of all. Earth had hosted countless creatures that were far more diverse, strange, and sometimes more dangerous than anything alive today. The sea monsters were not myths. They were lost species. Even today, new discoveries continue to challenge what we think we know. Fossils uncovered in modern times have revealed marine predators that lived over 300 million years ago, including ancient sharks found in cave systems and deep rock layers. These creatures existed in oceans that no longer resemble today's marine environments. Some fossils are so well preserved that they reveal details about muscle structure, feeding behavior, and even movement. Others are fragmentary, leaving scientists to reconstruct entire organisms from just a few bones. Each discovery adds another piece to a vast, incomplete puzzle. And every fossil raises new questions. Because the deeper we look into the past, the more we realize how little we actually know. The Earth is not just a planet. It is an archive. Layer by layer, rock preserves a record of life stretching back billions of years. Within these layers are stories of rise and collapse, of survival and extinction, of creatures that once ruled entire ecosystems and are now gone forever. Sea monsters, in this sense, are not just myths or legends. They are symbols of something much deeper. They represent the moment when human curiosity collided with the unknown. When ancient people saw something they couldn't explain and chose to imagine instead of ignore. But imagination was only the beginning. What ancient people discovered was only a small glimpse of what lies buried beneath the Earth's surface. Modern science has since revealed an astonishing record of life, massive marine reptiles like mosasaurs, long-necked plesiosaurs, and powerful ancient sharks that once ruled prehistoric oceans. These discoveries show that Earth's past was far more complex and dangerous than anything we see today. Entire ecosystems existed, thrived, and then disappeared, leaving behind only fossilized traces as evidence of their existence. Yet for every fossil that has been uncovered, there are countless more still hidden deep within rock layers, ocean floors, and unexplored terrains. These remain locked in time, waiting to be discovered by future generations. Each fossil represents not just a creature, but an entire world, an ecosystem filled with predators, prey, and environmental conditions that no longer exist. Unknown species continue to emerge from the fossil record, reshaping our understanding of life's history. Some discoveries reveal predators that were once apex hunters, dominating their environments with speed, size, or specialized adaptations. The oceans, in particular, have always concealed more than they reveal. Covering over 70% of the planet, they are vast, deep, and largely unexplored. Beneath their surface lies a hidden archive of life preserved in sediment, buried under layers of time, and shaped by shifting tectonic forces. It is here that some of the most extraordinary fossils have been discovered, yet it is also here that countless secrets remain untouched. Ancient people, long before science existed, came across these remains and tried to make sense of them. They did not invent sea monsters, they encountered real evidence of enormous creatures that once lived in the oceans. Without the knowledge of extinction or evolution, they interpreted these discoveries through stories, myths, and legends. In their world, these fossils became dragons, serpents, and colossal sea beasts. Today, science allows us to understand what they once found. But even with advanced tools, imaging technology, and decades of research, we are still only beginning to uncover the full history preserved beneath the Earth. Because beneath the oceans, beneath layers of rock, and beyond what we can currently explore, there are still mysteries waiting. Creatures that have never been seen by human eyes. Ecosystems that have yet to be reconstructed. Entire chapters of Earth's history that remain unread. Each discovery we make does not close the story, it opens new questions. It expands the unknown instead of shrinking it. The past is not finished. It is still being uncovered. And the more we learn, the more we realize one unsettling truth. We are not uncovering everything that existed. We are only uncovering what we have been able to find so far. The rest is still waiting. What's hidden comes next. Don't miss it, subscribe.